Right, so let's talk about funding. Obviously, when a franchisee is interested in the prospect of buying into Lockforce, there are a number of things that they need to consider. Do you help, Gail, with the funding of the franchise? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with a number of banks and the government startup loan scheme. We will work with an individual who's keen to join, putting a business plan together, really looking at the viability. You know, to be perfectly honest, the figures have to be quite transparent. They have to share with us what they need to take out of the business. Some have some money for a deposit, others don't. Again, we can work round that. The banks will typically lend 70% if you've got a 30% deposit, whereas the government startup loans will lend up to 25,000. So we've had some good successes with funding over the last couple of years, and we've been able to bring people on board. I think people who perhaps thought they couldn't afford it as well, you know, thought that, oh no, I couldn't go down that route. So, you know, what I always say to people is let's explore it, you know, let's see what we can do, and we've got a process of...
and you'll help people with that. You've been quite successful with that, haven't you, of late?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Lovely. So, Sean, business planning and, you know, just around that, how much help do we give to the prospective franchisee around the business plan?
Well, I mean, the business plan is the thing that tells us whether it's going to work or not. So it does go hand in glove with the funding side of things. And as Gail was intimating there, that it sometimes creates opportunity that people don't realise was there, and sometimes closes off the opportunity because it simply doesn't work, and that might just be down to timing. So it's about doing the hard work up front. And I think whether you picked up from what Gail said, you know, we need to know, people need to be honest with their financial position. There's no point hiding anything in this process. If you hide stuff, you know that is sometimes the reason that things fail, because someone hasn't been transparent. So if those numbers add up, we have a pretty good tick in the box to say this is looking good. But I think more than, you know, before we get onto that stage, you know, we just want to make sure before we, you know, that we've got someone who's actually really interested, because we're going to put effort and time into this. So we just like to do that upfront bit to start with, to make sure we've got the right people in front of us before we put time and effort into this. Whereas a lot of people want us to do the numbers before we do the people. So sometimes we get a little bit of friction in the process because people want to talk numbers, but we want to understand the person before we talk numbers.
We talked earlier about successful franchisees and what it takes to be successful, winning attitude, mindset, motivation. Can it fail, Sean?
I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, I don't like to dress it up any other way, but we've already talked about that franchising as a model works.
Yeah.
And as much as I can say yes, and as a franchisor, any failure is a bit of a mark against us, because I take it personally, but I can genuinely say failure is normally down to individuals. Which again, someone listening to this might think, well, that's a bit trite to say that, but it's simple. You know, the same as losing weight, getting fit, everyone knows the process. And if you look at our network, we've got so many successful franchisees, follow the process and it works. But when the journey gets a bit tough, that's when that person needs to have the attitude to move through it. And you cannot move into any business and expect it to all to be a bed of roses. But that's the whole point of having the community around you. You know, we had a guy recently who was saying how he's really struggling mentally, and the community came together and helped him through that, because you will get that high and low. So yes, there are, but as I said, I think there's normally some really telltale signs. And the thing I talked about on a previous question was, if you do not disclose the full situation you're in, that can lead to a big hole in the jigsaw puzzle. You know, the recruitment process is all about putting the jigsaw pieces in place, and if you forget to tell us a part of that jigsaw, then
that's where it can come crashing down.
Totally.
So full disclosure is absolutely imperative.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, I can deal with anything as long as I know.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same old.
Absolutely. So we've got successful franchisees out there. We've met Ricky already. Can Ricky sell his business in the future if he wants to? How does that work, Gail?
Yeah, no, absolutely, he can. I think anybody who joins the franchise needs to have that ultimate goal, you know, what is your exit clause. So yeah, we talk about it as an investment, so they can build up their portfolio of contracts, customers. That obviously then will, what they've invested in, they will get more back, if that makes sense, you know, so that you sell it as a ongoing business. So yeah, absolutely.
And they can sell it with tools and everything, and clearly their area as it comes.
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
So there's definitely an exit strategy if people want that.
Yeah,
it's not spoken enough in the industry. I think now there is now a resale market for franchises, which go back 5-10 years probably wasn't as robust. So it's got to be discussed.
So if people are sat there watching this and they think, oh goodness me, my territory's already gone, it's definitely worth a conversation with you about areas if something is already taken.
Oh yeah. I mean, of course, give me a call, drop me an email to ask whether there's an area. And also something to mention is sometimes franchisees will cover an area but not own it. So it can appear that there isn't availability, but because if any work comes in, perhaps they're on the border, they're happy to cover that if we've got sort of any national jobs that are coming. So don't just assume it's not available. Give me a call.
Lovely. All right. Thank you.